Welcome back to the Chapter Chats and Chill podcast.
Your cozy reading nook where we talk everything about books, tropes, fave characters, and more. This is Elena.
This is Marwa.
And Emma. And we invite you to get comfortable, grab a cup of tea or coffee, and get ready to enter a world where stories come true.
Okay, guys, we're back. I know you missed us, and we definitely missed you too. We took a little break. Emma went on vacation to Barcelona. Elena enjoyed the sun in Lisbon. And on my side, I took the opportunity to do a few concerts. But now we're here, and it feels so good to be back behind the mic.
Yay!
Yay!
So for today's episode, we're going to do a book review of The Serpents and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, which is our latest common read. Are you girls ready to start?
So
Ready.
ready. Actually, I'm so excited. I have to kind of ground my energy a little bit because finally the time has come. Human or vampire, the rules of survival are the same. Never trust, never yield, and always guard your heart. The adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king Aureia carved her place in a world designed to kill her. Her only chance to become something more than prey is entering the Kajari, a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. But winning won't be easy amongst the most vicious warriors from all the three vampire houses. To survive, Aureia is forced to make an alliance with a mysterious rival. Everything about Ryan is dangerous. He is a ruthless vampire, an efficient killer, an enemy to her father's crown, and her greatest competition. Yet, what terrifies Aureia most of all is that she finds herself oddly drawn to him. But there is no room for compassion in the Kajari, war for the House of Night brews, shattering everything that Aureia thought she knew about her home. And Rain may understand her more than anyone, but their blossoming attraction could be her downfall in a kingdom where nothing is more deadly than love.
We have to say that this is one of the favorite book of Emma, right? So we didn't
Yes.
have any pressure at all, right?
I mean, yeah, considering I've tried to convince you to read the book for quite a few months, I would say. Sorry about that, but not sorry. I haven't checked your reviews or the rating you gave to the book, so why don't we start with that? I'm very curious.
Oh, I gave 4.25. A solid
Ooh.
4.25.
I like that.
At the beginning, I gave it like 3.75 stars. But now I think it's more like something between 3.75 and 4 stars because I kind of struggled with it at the beginning, like to get into the story. And as you all know, vampires are not my cup of tea. Although I really, really enjoyed them in this book because they were like vampire plus, like they had these super extra powers and these huge, magnificent wings. So they were kind of cool, like really cool. And yeah, there was something at the end of the book that frustrated me a lot. I'm not gonna talk about it here.
Really? Okay.
I
Yeah.
wanna know.
Next episode.
Yeah, but yeah, overall it was an interesting read, and I'm curious to see how it all ends in the sequels.
Okay, so I gave it 5 stars. I read it last year. And so I reread it for shooting this episode for our book club. And I think honestly, now I would probably give it maybe like 4.5 stars, not necessarily 5, just because I found it a little bit hard to reread, which surprised me a lot because it was like, oh, I'm so happy that I'm going to reread the book. And then some parts of it were very interesting to read, like having the knowledge of the plot already. I would say there is quite a clever foreshadowing, like it's very, very subtle. And so I totally missed it the first time I read the book. And that I think is like, it's something that I appreciate a lot in books, but at the same time, it was very difficult to reread it. And actually, I didn't finish the reread. So
Shame.
I know. And so it was like, okay, I can't give it a 5 stars. I think if like rereading it is a little bit like that. But I would say I still love the book and definitely like it's, yeah, one of my favorites.
I have to
Okay.
admit that I was a bit skeptical and mostly scared about this book because, once again, I'm not a big fan of vampires, but I was pleasantly surprised with the story. And I think it's mostly due to the fact that the storytelling is more brutal and darker than our usual vampire stories. And by that, I'm speaking about Twilight, Vampire
Yeah.
Diaries, and so on and so forth. Like here, for example, vampires kill the parents for power and like they cripple their own children to keep them from doing the same
Mm.
thing to them, which is so
Yeah.
fucked up. But at the same
Right?
time, it makes the story more interesting and original. We have a lot of little details like this that make the story more spicy and interesting.
That's so true. And
Mm.
I also love the main character, Soraya. She was like a badass. I love to see these kind of characters, especially main character in books. And she was really empowered. Even though she was human, I mean, she was acting like a vampire even better. So I was like, yeah, that's my girl.
Yes.
And then there is like Raya. No, the other one is Rain.
Ryan, I don't know the pronunciation to
The
be
other
honest.
one.
You never know.
I mean, it is so good. Like, I mean, I think it's really good written. Again, it's the kind of character that I would like to see more in books and in fantasy, especially. So, what do you think, girl?
I'm not gonna lie to you, like I was more attracted to Vincent than Rain.
Yes.
Like he is the best example of sugar daddy vampire version. He's
And
the
Yeah.
perfect morally gray
yes,
character and
I was
he has such a mysterious aura around him. I'm a sucker for Vincent. Okay, so
I think all of the characters are very well written, even though you don't get a lot, about the backstory of the secondary characters, but you will in the upcoming book that is actually, I think, coming out, I don't know, in autumn or winter, I guess. Or maybe no, at the end of the summer. I don't remember, but like sometime in the upcoming months. I think for me, the main characters, I loved them. Vincent was a very interesting character. So he's the father of Aurelia, like adoptive father. He's the king of the vampires and he adopted her when she was a very little kid. And so she's living at his court. Like she's the only human. There's vampires all around. He's very morally great. Like he's very charming and everything. But besides like these fantasy elements, I think he's the perfect example of like an imperfect dad because his relationship with Aurelia is like, I think it's a little bit fucked up the more you read about
It
it.
is.
But like you can really see on the one hand, I think, and this is one of my favorite things that I noticed rereading the book. Like on the one hand, he's really trying to empower her, but he's doing so in the only way he knows power. And so like with using violence, with like not sharing your emotions, because in his opinion, emotions are what make you weak. I mean, it's probably not the healthiest way, like he's not setting the healthiest example for his adoptive daughter, but I think it's like for this reason, for his like imperfections, he's one of the most interesting characters definitely from the book.
totally agree.
And like
I
some of my
agree.
favorite quotes are actually what he tells Aurelia. So we can go into that later maybe, but no, it's very, very, I don't know, like perfectly morally great, I would say. Him and also like the male main character, Rain. And also, I mean, Aurelia, I don't know, like in terms of being a morally great character, I think she's more on the like
I think
The
she's,
goodies, yeah, I don't think
yeah,
she's really morally gray.
she's
And
just
I don't know.
broken
Yeah, yes.
completely because of like
Yeah.
her childhood and the way in which she lives in
Mhm.
a city full of vampires. And she's basically their meat. But yeah, I don't think she's morally gray.
No.
No, me neither. And I don't know about you girls, but she reminded me a lot of Jude Duarte from the Cruel Prince trilogy,
Oh.
but also Selena from the Throne of Glass series. Like to me, she was the perfect mixture between these two characters. Like she was fierce,
Mm.
bold, and cunning, and human, which is a very
Yes.
important detail. And overall, I really enjoyed having a complete depiction of how she ended up in the castle and the resulting consequences of that. Like, we had the book, which was divided into different parts,
Mm.
and each part has a little like interlude, which
Mm.
is some sort of a sneak peek of what happened in the past. And that was really helpful, in my opinion, to get to know the characters better, especially Aurea.
Yeah.
And yeah, even though not all questions about her were answered, it was really fascinated to explore her upbringing, her motivations. So in that part, I think that the writing and the explanations were very, very good.
Do you know if this is her first book, like from the writer?
Oh, I
Is
don't
a
know. I
debut
don't
I
think
novel?
think
so.
I think it's the first because like it was auto-published. It was on Amazon at first, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was like published by a publisher, but I'm not sure.
However, I know she also wrote another quite famous fantasy series. It's Daughter of No Worlds, which is the series is called The War of Lost Hearts. I see that this one, like the first book of this series, was published in 2020, while The Serpent and the Wings of Night in 2022. So it might not be her first series, but I'm
Okay,
not
no
sure.
debut. Okay, okay.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested in reading that series because I loved this one so much. And it's on Kindle Unlimited. So plus points.
Another favorite character of mine would definitely be Mish. I don't know how to pronounce it, but
Yeah.
I pronounce it Mish. Like she's just adorable and quirky and truly kind and nice to everyone. It's true that we didn't see her a lot in this book, so I really hope to get to know her better in the sequel.
She's in book 2 as well, but not as much. Like she, if I remember correctly, because I also read that one like probably almost a year ago, she makes a few appearances, but the book is very much centered around Aurelia and Rain. And I think maybe she goes on a quest somewhere, I don't know. But the third, like the new book that is coming out is about her, if I got it right.
Oh,
So we will get
okay.
more of her. Yes.
Nice.
That's
Her story
interesting.
is so interesting. So it would be a pity if, we didn't know much about her.
Mm, true. Nice. I also really liked Ibrahim. I don't know how to pronounce it
Oh,
once again.
yes.
The crippled vampire,
Mm.
the weakest one at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like a vampire that competes in the Kajari. I think he's from the same court as Vincent and
Yes.
Aurelia.
Mhm.
And essentially, like, because in this universe, to succeed your own parents and take like the power within the family, essentially, it's like customary to kill your parents to do that. So his parents decide to avoid that and keep the power for themselves. Did they cut his? No, they did his
Yes,
legs.
they cut
I
his
don't remember.
wings and like they broke his leg.
Oh yes, and the
Yeah.
teeth as well. I think there was something
Yes,
about
and
that.
some of his teeth.
Yeah, it's very, very dark. Here, I think you
Mm.
can maybe get a sense of it's not
Yeah.
Twilight. When they enter the Kajari, the least likely to win, or at least the people that were least likely to win, in the other people's opinion, were him and Rhea because she's a human. Yeah, it's a sad story.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, and he clearly had a big disadvantage, but he didn't give up and he kept on going and going and going. And that's why
Yes.
I respect him, let's say. I was fascinated by his resilience and his stamina.
I think it's very nice because this book also kind of it delves into themes like, of course, being like in a competition, and so like being put in a position of you can't really trust other people or you can't trust them up to a certain extent, and then also like friendship and loneliness in a way. Because Aurelia, like the protagonist, only has one friend. She's an elder woman, also human, who lives within the vampire, like in the vampire kingdom, and she essentially like, I don't know, she's like a blood bank living a version of it, I guess. And she's also very fierce, but like besides her, she doesn't really have anyone else and her like adoptive dad. But yeah.
Yeah.
But the book is not a sad book. Like,
No.
I mean,
it's full of
it's
action. Like,
Yes.
true.
don't get us wrong.
Yes. And also I think it was so cool because, as you mentioned, it's divided into sections, and each section has, as you said, like the interlude. But also, I don't know if you notice in the ebook version, but each section it's dedicated to a different phase of the moon cycle. And
Yes,
there's the little
yes.
drawing as well, like the drawing
Yes.
changes
That's
as
very
you go.
beautiful.
And that
Mm.
was, it was very unique. And also like it made sense because in the story, like the Kajari, the competition is kind of divided into, I don't know how many steps, but it
6,
is
I
with,
think.
yes,
6 or 5,
yeah,
something like that.
I guess so. And paced with the moon cycle. And so it was very cool. Girls, do you have any favorite quotes that are like spoiler free?
I have some, like,
Okay.
I've picked some that could be applied anywhere, anytime, and especially in our everyday life.
Okay.
They look like Instagram/Pinterest quotes, practically. Okay, so the first one goes as, living this life had required me to learn how to be many contradictory things at once. The second one is, never be ashamed of exceeding expectations. And the third one is, maybe this place made all of us that way, taught us to hide love in sharp edges. This one is a little bit sad.
Yeah.
But it really reflects like how in our modern society we don't show love often. Like we don't express it like as it is. We don't say I love you to someone. We show
Yeah.
it like in weird ways somehow.
That's so true. And actually, this book is all about love also. Because, for example, my favorite quote, which is not spoiler, is like, it says, never trust, never yield, and always guard your heart. Again,
Yes.
love comes again. And one quote that I also publish on my Instagram says, maybe I was right to distrust you in the beginning. You have so many different versions of yourself. Oh, they are all me. And that's like, oh, for me, it was like, oh, that's mind blowing because humans are like different and they are always changing. And sometimes oh, but I have so many different versions of myself. Who am I? And this book is telling me they are all you.
Yes.
I don't know. For me, it was like,
Powerful.
for me, it was really, yeah.
I love that. I think I also have maybe, I don't know, maybe one, maybe two. Honestly, let me check because I'm not sure they're spoiler free, but let's see. Actually, yes, because we've already talked a little bit about this. So how it's about how Aurelia always has to like guard herself and be very, she's in a position of danger because she lives with vampires. And so at the beginning of the book, she says, I wore only black, plain clothing that attracted little attention and allowed me free range of movement. I didn't ever wear anything bright as it would draw unwanted eyes, flowing as it would allow someone to grab me, or restrictive as it would impede my ability to fight or flee. And then shortly after that, she says, but I was surrounded by predators. Vanity came second to survival. And to me, like reading that was, as you also said, like I think you can take some of these quotes or situations and really like, this is a fantasy world, but also they kind of apply in a way to the real world as well, because I feel like so many women kind of try, they're very mindful also of the way they're like what clothes they're wearing, because you never know like external judgments. And not only that, but also like
For
sometimes I feel like,
safety,
yes, you don't want to draw attention.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's really sad, but like also really true. And so I don't know. I think the author kind of gave voice to that through Aurea's perspective.
Yeah. She was so real for that.
Yeah.
That's why I love fantasy book.
Another one that is spoiler free. Okay, so Vincent, the vampire shadow
Sugar daddy.
sugar daddy, he says to Aurelia, you must be better than they are. And just as Vincent heard what I didn't say, I heard his unspoken words here too, to make up for what you're not. And also this was like so real, because I think everything you say has like such a powerful effect on the person you're talking to. And sometimes we're not so careful about the meaning behind our words, but maybe we should be more aware.
I agree 100%.
What I also really liked about this book is that it has a great way of sprinkling information throughout the chapters without it becoming overwhelming to the reader. And like with every chapter I read, I had another piece of the puzzle, like to
true.
put it.
Yeah.
Because you will get used to the word building, the story, wherever.
Yes.
I think one of the things that is lacking in this book is that we don't fully understand the other vampires, the other like houses, vampire houses, how they are called, whatever. So like there is this lacking of information that, as you said at the beginning, is a little bit, you don't understand what is going on, and it's always like that in a fantasy world. But I would like to have known a little bit more And of course, you get used to it because you should, otherwise you're not understanding anything about it.
Yeah. It comes naturally, like it comes slowly and unconsciously, I'm going to say, because at the beginning you're like, wait, who's this? And what house is that? And then
Yeah.
you just get used to it. I just wanted to add something
Yeah, sure.
about the ending.
Mm.
If we can add another reason to read this book, is that it ends on a huge plot twist.
Huge.
Like, OMG. I knew that there was something weird happening behind the scenes, but I never expected it to be that big. Like, honestly, the last 15% of the book got me shook. They were
True.
clearly the best part of the book, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why I gave it 5 stars, because at the end I was like, what did I just read? I mean, what?
I would never imagine something like this plot twist. Like,
Same. Like, and everything happened all at once.
Yeah. But also I think it kind of made sense. Like the pace was really, really fast and picking up the more you read about the book. And so by the last, as you said, like 15-20%, I guess, it's really, really quick and everything happens like in quick succession. But to me, it still made sense, because sometimes you can feel like the ending of a book is very much rushed and not coherent with the pacing, before. But in this case, I think it's very like you get used to it and then like something major happens and you're like, I need to read book 2.
Yeah, that's so true. So I think we are at the end of our no spoiler version.
Yeah, and stay tuned, because next week a new episode is coming out, and this is going to be the not spoiler-free version of our book review. So all of our like theories, comments about the unexpected things that happen throughout the book, and there is a lot of them, and more spicy comments, you will find them in next week's episode.
So stay tuned for part 2.
Yes, bye.
Yay.
Thank you for tuning into Chapter Chat and Chill.
If you loved this episode, make sure you give it a 5-star rating, thumbs up, and comment below what you want to hear next.
To stay connected in between episodes, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Chapter Chats and Chill.